have been locked. So it looks like we know exactly what our lineups are going to be. We'll be jumping into game shortly as we see an emphasis on heavy tanks, T-32s out on both sides, 5100s and 69s sort of being split on either side, as well as our game is getting ready to start up. So here we go. Gentleman Gaming versus Refuse to Die.
Yes.
All right. I hear a bag of kittens as the team captain, and then you hear refuse to die, and it's just like it's hard to put those two things together sometimes. Your brain just doesn't want to say.
A bag of kittens is refusing to die.
I mean, a kitten should never have to die. Is the cold hard truth.
I've grown to like Kitty
I
and
love kittens.
Junior, Frodo and Junior, so I can't.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into mines and start talking about some actual tanks. All right, here we go with our first battle between these two great teams, Gentleman Gaming and Refuse to Die. We can see pretty slow tanks being chosen on the Refuse to Die side. AMX 5100s, T69s, T32s. That's not going to give them a whole lot of speed for taking the hill, but that's okay because it looks like, excuse me, that's Gentleman Gaming in those heavy tanks, but that's okay because Refuse to Die is not trying to contest the hill directly. They're doing what Andre was talking about. They're pushing tanks up onto that hill.
Yep, double 1390s going on up there, and this is going to help out so very much. Of course, having those auto loaders there, just you're able to do so much with it.
Very cool play there. 1390s will kind of hang tight on that hill for the time being and wait for some spots to go. Looks like World War II Fanatic has been seen already.
Yeah, and he's logging down in a good position, that T-32. Rookhill calls those rocks on the opposite side, the rocks where you go to die. But that T-32 in a hold down position with its good gun depression can get some initial shots fired and hold on anything trying to creep up the hill, but not being able to spot really anything yet. He's good. There, the other T-32 from Derek Viker trying to lock in a shot against World War II Fanatic. No shots fired yet, but now both the T-32s have seen each other, and the other T-69 bag of kittens can creep up. And if that Derek Viker is alone, which we all know is not the case, he could move up and get a couple shots on the side.
Derek Viker sitting with Death Reaper. They are sort of covering each other, so World War II Fanatic does need to be very careful that he doesn't overexpose himself here. There are two tanks, two T-32s ready to fire on his position. They're holding their shots, though, realizing that World War II Fanatic is hold down and will be hard to spot. That first 1390 up on the hill has been spotted. That's Valkyrie Vewas. And you know, he's got a full drum ready to be unloaded on something. He's just not really in position to open fire just yet. Meanwhile, what's going on with the rest of Refuse to Die?
Refuse to Die is pretty much camping in that same spot on behind Bag of Kittens and World War II Fanatic. They do have a good spread though. They're T1s, one in the bush way to the far side against the water side, and the other T1 on the east village. Quasiar is going to be able to see if any approaches are coming on that east side to try to get a flank around that hill. These T1s, again, we emphasize this a lot. They can't really penetrate or do damage against other tanks, but they are eyes and ears, crucial eyes and ears on the battlefield, and that is going to stop any sort of initial aggression, at least for now, from Gentleman Gaming. It will be a bit of a standstill until a couple shots will go across, or kind of the side hits from Valkyrie Vewas if he does commit, but it will be a bit of a gamble if he does, because that 13-9 will be very exposed to a lot of fire from the red team.
Yeah, Valkyrie Vewas is really not able to get a shot on Death Reaper or Derek. Derek, we'll just call him Derek.
Yeah, call him Derek.
In that T-32, both these tanks are well positioned, and that 13-9 would be firing down on their hulls, so I think Valkyrie Vewas is smarter than to push in on two T-32s. That's too much hit points, too much armor, and too much potential firepower. So we are going to have a little bit of standoff here.
That T1 from CMO 1702, it will creep across the water to get a little bit closer and notice nothing is happening, at least in that water side of the map. But a couple tanks could be hiding behind those rocks to the south. Now, if he is not able to spot anything, he could push a little bit inwards before he's spotted, but he's got to be really careful, because if he does go down, that is a complete waterside advantage that the red team could have to get in those rocks and get those shots across the way for that hill push. If Bag of Kittens and World War II Fanatic do try to push in, if they do get hit on that side, they're going to fall back, and because they fall back, the red team can move in and get that hill advantage. So this T1 can be very, very crucial. Could pull the trigger for either team if he does go down, or is able to spot, if not one, two of the heavy tanks to the south side.
Yes, sir. Still not a whole lot of movement out of either of these teams. Both sides really wanting to be certain of the position of their opponents before they make any sort of crazy commitments. We see Valkyrie Vewa still holding this position on the hill. And Derek Fakir and Death Reaper. Whoa, auto, and that T1 Cunningham does get picked off. I think that was Valkyrie Vewa who took that shot.
Yes, and Bag of Kittens takes down the other T1 that was over on the east side. Now the east side is fully exposed for the blue team to move further to the south. But with that T69, that is a key indicator that T69 is not at the center, and Derek's going to move up, knowing that T69 is on the east. He's going to get hit himself, taking 1302 out of 1550, but Death Reaper's able to land a shot against Valkyrie.
Yeah, Valkyrie Vewa is forced to retreat. He's taking a lot of damage, dropping down to 700 hit points, but whoa, surprise, there's another 1390 up on that hill, and Derek Fakir taking a lot of damage in the exchange with a big skirmish unfolding here, and it's actually Refused to Die who seems to be getting the worst of the exchange. They are falling back in a full retreat. Anubis, very low on health, is going to go down to the autoloader action in Tyler GM2, so great play there from Tyler in that AMX 5100. World War II Fanatic and the T-32 going to try to round the corner with the Bag of Kittens, but there are a lot of tanks coming to bear on their position. They're going to take loads of fire from the T-69, the T-32, the AMX 5100, all concentrated on this position, and Refused to Die taking heavy damage, and still not a single tier 8 from Gentleman Gaming has gone down. What great HP sharing and focus fire from these tankers.
Fantastic. And Mass in the 5100, a little confused on what he was trying to do initially. I don't know why he didn't try to move in against the blue team that was on the hill, but he's gone back to clean up any aggression from those T1s on the map. Because he did not fully commit, they are more flexible on the battlefield to clean up that flag cap, and that is going to stop the blue team in its tracks. A nice execution from the blue team to try to spread out the numbers of the red, but Colonel Angus goes down. Refused to Die is in dire straits right now as Valkyrie Vewa in the 1390, the only one left alive, as he's going to hightail it out of there.
Yeah, Valkyrie Vewa down to just 437 hit points. He's got nothing really going for him right now. He is in a full retreat, and he's going to have a hard time doing anything about the inevitable outcome of this game, as the entire Gentleman Gaming is giving chase right now. T-32 pulling up, and that's Death Reaper. He will fire. He's going to take a little bit of damage, but ultimately that is not going to matter, as Valkyrie Vewa will go down. Great play there at a Gentleman Gaming. They're going to take game one decisively, only losing their tier 1s. Welcome back to the desk of the Wargaming.net League North American World of Tanks Season 2 Qualifier number 1.
I am now you.
You are now me. I am now Joshua Clutch Gray.
No wonder, man.
They fixed it.
There we go.
Thanks, guys.
I was wondering why you look so handsome.
Identity crisis. I was like, man, I look good. When did this change? My girlfriend's going to be so happy when I get home tonight.
This was the first time you and I have commentated together in a while. It's been about like 6 months.
Dude, it's very seldom that we get to share the desk with one another.
Yes, the world can hardly handle it. And then we have Greetorp as well, and that's why the world's exploded.
That's right.
Just could not handle. Boom. We're going to see a lot more things explode. What's the next map for us, Ben?
Himmelsdorf is the map, and you know what? The countdown has begun, so let's go ahead and hop to it. Map intro, go. And here we go. Battle number 3 between Gentleman Gaming and Refused to Die, with Gentleman Gaming leading 1-0. Himmelsdorf is the map. We've seen a lot of wild and crazy strategies, many of them revolving fast caps, some of them revolving more slow, methodical play. What do you think we're going to see here, Andre?
Well, there's a big five-man tier 8 push up onto the hill. This normally says they want to get a quick advantage, and then the go-to, normally the status quo, is to move all the way back to defend against some potential cap fast. This is to really take advantage of anybody trying to play mind games on the top of the hill, if you're sending anything there. But we know
Gentleman Gaming is not sending anything to the hill. This is the only time I have ever seen somebody just completely neglect the hill. And I don't know what in the world the result of this will be.
Well, there's going to be some high ground fire coming from the hill itself. And if any of them move from that tank alley position on the G line, there's some easy shots against them. we're going to have to see how Gentleman Gaming is going to react.
Gentleman Gaming is pinging the hill. They're not seeing anybody. They're saying, all right, well, they must have been going hill, and now I think we see a T1 moving in that direction. It's going to be Mass. And, yep, he's going to round that corner, and he is going to book it up to the hill. And, man, he is going to enjoy a very short life because there's going to be 3 Tier 8s, 4 Tier 8s, 5 Tier 8s waiting for him up atop that hill.
And this may sound simple, but when the T1 does fire, one of the shot callers or one of the players will say, I have first shot, which means they will shoot first because you do not want to have all 4 of these autoloaders shoot at once because that means all 4 of them are going to be down a drum.
A substantial amount of overkill, man. I cannot wait to see just how short Mass's life is as he is making his way right up. And who will be the lucky one to spot him?
Could be Bag of Kittens or Valkyrie Viewus. They are keeping one of the heavy tanks down next to Tank Alley to see if there's any advance from Gentleman Gaming. And this is the advantage right now. Bag of Kittens lining up those shots. 2 IS-3s hit. Nice shot from Bag of Kittens. Great roll. That one did not hit, and he does dodge the shot from Lost Dead Man.
Now, Mass has confirmed that there are tanks on the hill, and you know what he's going to do? He's going to turn around and book it out of there. Bag of Kittens rounds the corner. He sees the T1. He will fire, and down goes Mass. Lights out, and out goes one of the eyes of Gentleman Gaming. They will be forced to play in the dark, kind of, like a pirate from now on.
Well, they do have a slight HP advantage, too, on the side of the blue team, which is Refuse to Die, and that could prove to be in their favor as long as they execute well. Now, because Gentleman Gaming knows they're at the hill, they've sent the other 2 heavy tanks back down to their position to try to counter any type of movement on the west side, especially over the railroad tracks, but none of it's been spotted from Quasiar. Nice position by his T1, and now it's going to be a reassessment and a relaunch of a different tactic from Refuse to Die. Looking pretty good within the first 3 minutes.
Gentleman Gaming taking a big gamble here. They're going to send 2 AMX 5100s up the hill, and you know, I guess it's going to be okay because Refuse to Die has given up that position, but boy, this is a gamble. If the entire team's up here waiting, then you've just lost so much of your ability to actually deal damage.
That's very true, and when you try to approach that hill, you are completely open until you use the castle for cover, but no one is up there, and no one's going to spot any of that movement from Gentleman Gaming. So with this new push, now taking the rail side, there is one light tank.
This movement out of Refuse to Die is actually brilliant because with these 2 5100s up on the high ground, anywhere Refuse to Die goes, they're going to have the overmatch. It's going to be 5v3 at best. Now that T1 Cunningham Otto has brilliantly done a good piece of spotting here, and he's managed to stay alive. So Gentleman Gaming is at least aware of the fact that Refuse to Die is not on the hill, and they are in fact all collected somewhere else. But those 5100s need to reposition. This is really key as oh man, down goes Otto. So now there's absolute blindness on the side of Gentleman Gaming. They have no T1 scouts anymore. So now they are going to be just forced to guess, and all that remains, in my opinion, is for a Bag of Kittens to say, all right, guys, let's do it. Spring the trap.
Yep, it's time to launch it. Hired Gun on the other side is seeing the IS-3s moving up Tank Alley, and that is going to be the trigger he needs to get out of there as fast as he can, and that T1 is going to move just to the left here to get behind cover right in time to get away from those heavy tanks. But this stops the moving position, at least for a couple seconds, as Refuse to Die hesitates to decide what to do, and there goes the other T1. Now it is tied up, still having that high ground in the castle section of the hill. The Gentleman Gaming is able to clean up the rest of those tanks, but now Valkyrie Viewus in that T69, along with the rest of his teammates, Screamly getting some great shots, or at least trying to land some shots against Last Dead Man. But with the high ground, they're trying to have to decide which tanks to shoot at.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It looks like there has finally been a line drawn in the sand. This is where they're going to fight along this D line with Refuse to Die, trying to open fire on the IS-3s of Gentleman Gaming. AMX 5100s have managed to catch out Derek Vakir, and he will go down. Now it's 2 who's going to lead the push here. World War II Fanatic down to 575 hit points. He can still take 1 or 2 more shots. Anubis has full health, but I have to feel like these 5100s are probably clipping. And I think 2 probably has the same idea as he is leading a very focused charge towards this flag cap. Where are those 5100s? Where have they gone? Oh, there's a bag of kittens ducking behind the corner. He's going to have a nice hold down position back there along with his battle buddy Valkyrie Lewis in those T69s. So I don't think that there's any chance that Gentleman Gaming can actually push on that flag cap.
No, great move by Fnatic, moving away from the firefight. His bag of kittens, Screenly, and Valkyrie Lewis got set up to try to hit that IS-3. And here is the counter flank from Anubis and World War II Fnatic. Lost Deadman taking another shot, but Anubis and Fnatic not fully committing because they don't know where the rest of those IS-3s
They also
are.
might not be loaded yet. It does take a long time to reload those 5100s. And it looked like they had enough of an overmatch that they could have killed Deadman if they had shells, so I have to feel like they're backing off because they weren't loaded just yet. 2, the only full health tank on Gentleman Gaming is going to once again come out and lead this charge around the corner. Bag of Kittens is going to ping him once, though. 1258 hit points remaining for 2. As man, look what great movement out of these 5100s. They're just staying out of the line of fire and waiting for their opportunity to deal some damage. Tyler GM2 looks like he wants to go chase him down, but he has to think twice about that as his 5100 is a very soft target.
And looking at the tier point advantage, Refuse to Die has the 8-point advantage, so they can play more defensive. They do not have to push in for the engagement. They however, are not staying static, moving around the different alleys to try to get those initial shots and not overcommitting. That is very crucial, especially the 5100s. Being caught out in the open against an IS-3, one of the shots bounces, you're in serious trouble. But being able to move in, stick and move, as they say in boxing, has been very, very, very advantageous for Refuse to Die.
That's exactly right. 5100s and IS-3s have split themselves up for Gentleman Gaming. Looks like Tyler GM2 and Death Reaper are just waiting for those IS-3s to initiate an engagement before they swing around this corner and go get involved. A bag of kittens and World War II Fnatic still with Anubis as well, so all the autoloaders are focused together. Tyler GM2 and Death Reaper need to get moving as they are just sitting static outside of this fight. Maybe they're reloading. I'm not sure what's going on. But it is time for them to get involved. Meanwhile, these IS-3s have taken a little bit of damage trying to move on this corner, held by a bag of kittens and the rest of his team. What are you waiting for, Gentleman Gaming?
Bag of Kittens, Fnatic, and Anubis are locking down that corner, and here comes 237-41 with the push. Bag of Kittens right in the front. Shot misses. It actually hits into the side. But 2 takes a lot of damage from Fnatic on another hit. Bag of Kittens missing again, or at least another bounce. But there's a kill from Anubis against that IS-3. Lost Deadman going to try to use that hole of his dead comrade. He does get the kill against Anubis, but still the advantage goes to Refuse to Die. There is the reverse flank coming from the north, though, Ben.
Yep, here come those 5100s. They are low on health. Scringly, the IS-3 in the hold-down position, the only one able to fight against them. 384 damage on that AMX 5100. It's a medium roll as the Death Reaper falls down to 189 hit points. Tyler GM2 at 183. Both these tanks are one shot away from death, and Scringly will pick off one of them. Now all that remains is Tyler GM2 against Scringly, the last Tier 8 tank for Gentleman Gaming, and he is not even going to try to do anything about it. Looks like he is in full retreat. Scringly, can you get the shot? No, it looks like he cannot, as Tyler GM2 is ducking into cover, and he really can't do much at this point, Clutch. He's going to hide and hope, but there is no hope.
He's going to get buried inside this building, Ben, and a bag of kittens performing very well in the T69. This ties up this series as Refuse to Die is able to take it on Himmelsdorf. Impressive play, impressive movement from this team.
Yeah.
Gaming.
Means the score of the series, 1 win, 1 loss, and a draw for both sides as we move on to map number 4, so it's still anybody's game. And here we go. Once again, Inks is the map. Gentleman Gaming spawning up in the north, and Refuse to Die taking the south spawn. There are a couple of ways to play this map. Most teams in the current meta play it a little bit more slowly, but there are always aggressive options. Almost every push revolves around pushing through the blocks. That's on the 1, 2, 3, 4 line.
That's right, and actually sometimes pushing through the railroad as well. I want to go with the tank selection real quick. 110 AMX 5100s, 2 of them, 2 IS-3s and 2 T1s on the side of Refuse to Die. For Gentleman Gaming, 3 AMX 5100s, 2 IS-3s, and a T1. Favoring that 110. Instead of that autoloader will be on the side of Refuse to Die. Let's see if Valkyrie Lewis is able to pull it out. In the capacity of the 110 can perform, but it's going to be really up to positioning and landing those big shots.
I'm actually surprised there's no T69 here.
I'm so happy there's a 110. I was being completely facetious when I said that.
Well, they're still very good tanks, very close to the IS-3.
It's close to the IS-3, but it lacks that sort of all-aroundedness that the IS-3 brings. It has huge alpha, and in theory, if 5 110s fired on a tank, it would just die, in theory.
Well, four 110s will kill any tank.
Most tanks.
Well, except the KV-5.
Yeah.
But even like a T-32, on average, it'll kill it.
T1 fight goes down.
I guess that's right, yeah.
Gets the first blood. As we've seen a push past the midline, past the E line, and this means a full commitment, at least initially, unless it could be a big fake. But Bag of Kittens, the IS-3, leading that charge. But on the west side, it's going to be a city lockdown for Gentleman Gaming.
Absolute stagnation out of Gentleman Gaming, who have not moved at all since last we spoke of it. They're just kind of sitting there doing their own thing.
I do want to say that this type of push is empowered by the fact that there is no T69 with binocs. Normally, you get a T69 with binocs on this map, so you can see down the 5, 6, 7 line.
400-meter range.
Plus, of course, the extra 25%. It helps out just so incredibly much. Of course, if it's outside of draw range, it's a problem, but on NSC, it's not that big of a problem. So if you had that, you would have been able to see a movement like this, but you can see all 5 tanks going into that position. Have we had a single movement coming out from Gentleman Gaming? No. That's why this attack is going to be heavily empowered, because there's no defensive position being taken.
Yeah, they're too stagnant. Bag of Kittens and his Refuse to Die comrades doing a good job of forcing movement, and Gentleman Gaming not doing the best job of actually responding to that.
Well, now they're able to shut down both T1s on that side, killing the one next to the flag cap. Gentleman Gaming initially is going to think, well, they're going to go for our flag cap guys. Let's move into another defensive position, pointing to the east with their turrets if necessary. But now a reset coming up from Refuse to Die, going to the south.
Love the movement once again. I can tell, Andre, that you've been talking to a Bag of Kittens, because this is the kind of strategy that we often discuss when we're having our we could crush these noobs if we had our own team conversations, which are, of course, completely ludicrous, because I, for one, am terrible at this game.
Delusions of grandeur.
But great movement out of Refuse to Die, and I do think that the key to truly excelling at the highest level is creating movement, and that is what we're seeing out of Refuse to Die right now.
What they're basically doing is resetting, as Clutch said before, and they're starting 40 to 42. Yes, they have 4 minutes or 3.5 minutes left, or excuse me, not left, but 3.5 minutes into the game. But it still is able to start the game out with an advantage. What are you going to do now with your two T1 advantages?
But if we really look at the mini-map and we examine it closely, look at what they've created. They've created the sense of uncertainty in Gentleman Gaming. And we have these 2 tanks in the middle of the map. I'm not sure who that is. It's Derek Fakir and Mass, and in an IS-3 and an AMX 5100 respectively. Now, these 2 guys are completely alone. They're exposed by themselves. Gentleman Gaming doesn't know where Refuse to Die is. This is what they have created with their movement. Now they need to capitalize on it.
And as you talked before, they trying to capitalize on positioning or forcing the position of Gentleman Gaming in that last map. It was more of guerrilla warfare and kind of not really guessing, but trying to pinpoint instead of pinpointing exactly, and that kind of came down to not having those T1s, but having the T1s of Quasiar and Hired Gun. It's either Hired Gun or Quasiar all the way to the north side, besides Quasiar, looking at the positioning, seeing if they're going to commit or at least try to push in to the east side, seeing no movement whatsoever, nothing spotted, and so after the reset, this is going to be another push down that line. Nice tactical movements and team play style. It didn't have to be all tier 8 tanks moving to that north side. It's just 3 of them as 2 held back to try to stop any fast caps. But now here is the position and the movement and the spread as World War II Fnatic and Anubis are going to move all the way to the east rather than follow in a line and actually get caught in a bad bottleneck if they did move out against the red flag cap and just get shut down. So there's going to be some great crossfire, some great flanks from Fnatic and Anubis as they get set up here.
Yeah, I love the foreshadowing here as we can see these guys setting up for a big attack, a big push, and pinging right on top of Tyler GM2 in this AMX 5100. They know that there's a tank on that corner, and it looks like they're going to do something about it. Look at the great positioning so far out of Refuse to Die. I just want to see the execution. Show me the execution, and I'll be so incredibly ecstatic and excited.
Well, they have 4 minutes and 10 seconds to show that execution. They're waiting for the tier 1s to either get in position to the north or the south. Looks like one's heading to the south, while one's positioned in the south already in the defensive scouting against their flag cap. Fnatic and Anubis, the 5100s, can simply unload anything that pops out into the open, while the IS-3s can hold down those strikes while the 110 can dish out the damage after the first shots from the autoloaders of Gentleman Gaming will not really absorb, but go into the HP pool of the IS-3s, while the 110 can dish out that damage. And that is good tactical play, again, with the tank selection, how to use the 110 to its best capabilities, along with the IS-3s.
Gentleman Gaming is pretty spread out here, and look, here's a spot finally on Quasier in that T1 Cunningham, and now the big push is going to be revealed. First shots fired by a Bag of Kittens and Valkyrie Viewis on Tyler GM2, but Tyler fortunately was far enough behind that corner that he took no damage, so the intentions of Refuse to Die finally coming to fruition, but will they be able to do anything about it? Still, Gentleman Gaming taking their time initiating any sort of response to this. We see that IS-3 and that AMX 5100, that's Derek Vakir and Mass still being left behind, not willing to come back and respond to what they've seen so far. It makes sense as the entirety of Refuse to Die has not been revealed yet, but man, that's some pretty ballsy play, just saying, no, I'm going to stay right where I am.
Quasiar was able to be the sacrificial lamb to find the rest of the tank positioning if necessary. It was necessary to find out where one of the IS-3s were. He had a good position behind the railroad tracks, and so this will be another reset, a retreat from Refuse to Die. They're still at an advantage, though, because if they do get the jump on any of those tanks that put in a set defensive position on Gentleman Gaming, this could be that initial strikes that they need.
Gentleman Gaming is going to initiate cap right as Refuse to Die is returning home. This is almost they're almost blind countering themselves. As surprise, here's World War II Fanatic, and you know what? He's not alone. Valkyrie Viewis is there as well. Derek Vakir down to just 268 hit points. The entire Refuse to Die lineup has come to bore on Gentleman Gaming, and down goes Derek Vakir. Mass also in a terribly exposed position. The entire remainder of Gentleman Gaming is still on their side of the map. Mass completely isolated. Refuse to Die needs to push on Mass. They need to push on Mass right now. He is all by himself, stuck between a building and another building, between a hard place and luckily a destructible wall. As he does back through that wall, he's in a full retreat. Oh no, there's a house there, and you can't back through that. As the 5100s are going to catch him out, and down goes Mass, and with a huge tier advantage swinging over to Refuse to Die. 32 tier points to 24. That's the 8-point lead that they need. And what in the world are you going to do about it, Gentleman Gaming?
Incredible timing from Refuse to Die. Quasiar moving out, only seen one of the IS-3s. Refuse to Die thinks, okay, if that's all that they're pushing out, there has to be something going on our base. Let's fall back. We still have the eye and ear advantage, and they're able to take down one of the tier 8s with already 2 of the tier 1s down. All Refuse to Die has to do is wait it out. 54 seconds left on the clock. They have the tier 8 advantage. The ball is in Gentleman Gaming's court as they have to try and tie up the tier point advantage for a draw or take down enough tanks for a win.
And you were seeing absolute breaks being slammed on here from Refuse to Die. They are going to set up the ultimate defensive posture and just wait this out. 30 seconds is all that remain, and they will win via the 8-point rule, which states that when neither side is able to take out the other, that the team with an 8-point tier lead or higher will be declared the victor. That means Gentleman Gaming has got to make something happen right now, and it's going to be Death Reaper in that AMX 5100 leading the charge. Interesting choice, putting the autoloader out in front. He's going to spot Anubis, and he's going to just fire and miss. So too will Anubis, but that doesn't matter. All he has to do is stay alive for 8 more seconds. 6, 5. I don't think that there's any way that Gentleman Gaming can solve this dilemma as the clock ticks down to 0, and your winner will be Refuse to Die.
Great back and forth movement from this team. Again, trying to read their opponents and read the possibilities. It's not just the tanks that you do scout, it's also the tanks you don't scout when a Quasiar moved across. It was a bit of a gamble. Yes, you will lose a T1 because of it, but only seeing that one IS-3 fire, they thought, not enough tanks here to defend. We don't have the information necessary to push in. Let's fall back, and they're able to get those 2 tanks. Very nice play from Refuse to Die.
Yeah.
If I have to say, obviously it was really, really nice. They were able to catch those 2 tanks out that were trying to do a reverse cap. Did not work out because they read the situation wrong. But Refuse to Die, I would have loved if Hired Gun was a little bit more active. He stayed on the south side the entire time. I think it would be much better to take all tier 8s, just shove them across to the east, and then put the 2 T1s all the way up in the north. And what you then do is, as soon as you see any tank, whether it be in the middle or the top, you go and cap with your 2 T1s. That's 2 shells around 600 damage that you're committing out of the main engagement. That's such an important part of, of taking down your opponent's tanks. And of course, you can go for that cap. Still, everything said, it was a really, really nice mobile game out of Refuse to Die.
Good job of moving around by Refuse to Die. I still think they're missing opportunities, but it's very clear that they're piecing together that big picture of I'm going to create openings and I'm going to win by exploiting those openings that I create. So they missed a couple opportunities, but ultimately because they were active, because they were moving, they did find a win, and they sucked it up. They snagged it. Makes the score 2-1. Refuse to Die leading. They must win this next map to clinch or draw this next map to clinch. Gentlemen Gaming in a must-win situation if they want to continue on in this qualifier. Well, guys, we're going to head into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with what could very possibly be our final map of this series. Welcome back once again to the Wargaming.net League North American Season 2 Qualifier number 1. I am Mr. Bitter.
And I'm Clutch, and we are going to get this game underway in just a sec. We did have a disconnect. It'll be on Abby. And joining us, as we see to the right, is Andre Gritorp.
Looking very trim.
Hello, everybody.
Have you lost weight, Andre?
I have, Ben. Thank you for mentioning that. I've been losing a lot of weight. You know,
I think you just sweat it out.
I peaked at like 215, believe it or not.
Wow.
In like November of 2012.
Which is large for a man that's 5'2".
Yes, very much so. I have very short, stubby legs, guys, and then a very large upper torso. That's how I'm keeping up with Clutch, who's actually like 6'9". It's kind of crazy.
6'40".
He's a giant. But yes, I've been working out. I've been doing jump rope. I've been running, which is terrible. And
running is just awful.
I've been doing just like a ladder workout, which is really cool too.
A ladder workout?
I don't know what to call it.
You climb a ladder?
No, I don't.
You do integral steps.
I do 10, 20, 40, 80.
Oh, it's like the way that you structure your workout.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can find a ladder. If you really
we
want to
could. We could. Or a rope.
Yeah.
That would be cool. No, it would be cool climbing a ladder without your legs.
I climbed a rope without my legs.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and jump into Abby. As we're about ready to start this 5th map. A little deja vu. Fancy seeing you here as we are once again firing it up on Abby. And Andre, you said right before. Look, Andre is so important that his name comes up.
He is inside that tank. He's physically inside.
I don't know why you are driving a tank for Refuse to Die. That seems a little bit like a conflict of interest, Gritorp.
Maybe so. But man, I'm playing well. All right, so if you guys didn't know before, I'll say the lineups again. 250-100s, an IS-3, a T-32, and a 1390 over on the side of Refuse to Die. On the other side, 250-100s, an IS-3, a T-69, and a 1390. So the difference is a T-32 for a T-69. On a map like Abby, I actually favor the T-69 a lot more because of that view range. It's so important to have that, especially with binocs. It's just that one thing that gives you the ability to look out and see exactly where your opponents are. And a lot of this map is that passive scouting.
And in the historical context of the metagame of World of Tanks esports, the T-32 was used a lot, but a lot of teams started to favor the T-69 in replacement of it. It did have the same view range at 400, but it had better efficiency when it came to an autoloader system and the maneuverability. However, it did not have the same RE value, of course, which is why the T-32 is still used in defensive positioning. But I remember talking to a lot of teams, especially Focal Gaming, tell me about the T-69.
And look at how big this T-32 is. It's a hunking mass of metal. The T-69 is a little bit more limber. It's a little, the profile is much smaller.
Profile is way smaller, of
so
course.
it allows you to do that passive scouting. You can sit in some sort of camo and some sort of brush and know that it helps you out. Whereas the T-32, it's like, well, I need a freaking truck to, no, something bigger than a truck. I need
a large truck.
An elephant.
A boat.
To camo me. I need a Greytorp in November of 2012.
Yes.
To camo me. Okay? Which, by the way, I've lost like 35 pounds since then.
Well, congratulations, man. Always good to stay fit, especially when you want to play World of Tanks, because the fitter you are,
the faster your tank goes.
That is right. Well, it looks like the blue team, which is Refuse to Die, is holding on in the position in the H3 line, but having a good spread with the rest of their light tanks to try and see any approach coming out from Gentleman Gaming.
Gentleman Gaming has set up rather defensively once again. It looks like they don't really want to aggress too much. Two in his Amex 1390 was all the way at the southern end of the Abbey, managing to spot Valkyrie Vewas, but unwilling to commit to any additional movement without the support of his teammates. That is, of course, the correct and intelligent way to play it. Just spotting that 1390 and falling back because he did not want to expose himself to too much enemy fire. Refused to Die, knowing that all they have to do is draw here, and they will have secured their advancement on into the later rounds of this qualifier. Do not look like they're going to be making any kind of aggressive plays at all.
Yeah, and they really don't need to. Playing out the draw, they could take the whole series. And holding out on that line, they're not fully committing to halfway across the map. But if they do come down to the flat cap area, which is where Valkyrie Vewas is, or where he could be at least to try to get those shots across from the middle section, that turnaround to the very southern area, the K3 section, is a bigger, wider area to get more of those tanks around together rather than one falling after another. So staying close to that area and also using that high ground, coming around the corners and using those rocks will be good if there's any sort of fast cap scenario. But we saw Simple Tankers execute that during the group stage play, going to the north side and coming out to the flag cap. But that won't be the case, it seems, on this map, since we're already 4 minutes in. And the spread, defensive spread from Refuse to Die, they have it locked down. That's all you need to do.
Yep. Neither side doing any kind of craziness, as we see two really being the only active scouter on the map at all for Gentleman Gaming. He's just going to dart around that corner and continue on his happy little way. The rest of Gentleman Gaming still sitting back on that C line, not going any further south than that, and just saying, I refuse to allow any movement. I hope that they realize that that they need to do something if they want to have a chance to move on in this series.
I wonder why Gentleman Gaming chose Abbey.
Yeah, it was a very odd choice given the fact that this is a must-win map, and Abbey can be a difficult map to aggress on.
Especially when it comes down to kind of a coin flip of which position you take. But maybe they were thinking, if we catch them out of position, if we do choose both the same roads, we can push out. They're going to be maybe a little bit more spread out than us, get those first initial shots fired, get some of those tier 8s down, and then fall back and hold a defensive position and make Refuse to Die have to push out and search for the tanks across the enemy play field on the north side. I would love to ask them, if I ever have the chance, why they did choose this map. It could have been more of a scenario of, hey, if we can get the win on this, then they can't choose this map next time to have more of a defensive position. But on the map itself right now, we do see two of the light tanks. One of the light tanks scouted on the side of Refuse to Die, seeing it go down the 6 line, but he's going to trek back up to the north side.
Yep, two continuing to be the only real active tank on the map. It's 1390 doing laps, running all the way up to about the F line, and then looping back. But honestly, he beyond that first spot he had on Valkyrie Vewas very early on in this game, has not seen much of anything else. And Refuse to Die, as we can see, they're set up in such a way that you're not really going to spot them. They are sitting back on the hard camp. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remain before this entire series is over in favor of Refuse to Die. So Gentleman Gaming is going to have to do something.
If Gentleman Gaming made the eastern approach, wiping out one of the light tanks, it would have to cause a defensive reset. Not too much, though, of a reset, since they could simply just turn around and get into the K line for Refuse to Die. But landing those shots across the way, especially anything that is exposed, moving in from the east road, Refuse to Die is looking in a very good spot. And with the time ticking down, the pressure is on second by second for Gentleman Gaming, with 3 minutes and 18 seconds left on the clock.
And with that 3 minutes remaining, we do finally see movement. T69, 25100s, and an IS-3 moving out for Gentleman Gaming. They're going to head down the 2 line. A very western push, which is going to be pushing right in to the defensive position of Refuse to Die.
It's going to be a firing squad once they turn that corner. And when the first person takes damage, they're going to stop them in their tracks, unload on him. He's going to panic if they're not expecting it. And that could stop the entire pause. It could stop the entire train of the aggression from Gentleman Gaming, and that's all Refuse to Die has to do. So as they are about to round this corner, some shots are going to be fired. A lot of hesitation coming around. Of course, I would be hesitant too, but now the IS-3 is going to expose himself, moving around that corner. We're going to see some shots being fired here from Screenly, Anubis, a Bag of Kittens, and Fnatic as soon as they see one of those tanks.
Yes, sir. It's just a matter of time now as Derek Fakir will be leading the charge for Gentleman Gaming. The entirety of Refuse to Die, they have just not moved this entire battle. They got into position and they set up the hard camp and they said, we are going nowhere. You're going to have to bring the fight to us.
2 minutes left on the clock. The strategy that Gentleman Gaming could use is to kill one of the tier 8s and miraculously move back and hold back with just a couple seconds left on the clock, and having that tier 8 advantage, they could get the win. It's going to be very, very hard to execute that, especially with 4 heavy tanks lining up that fire, especially with the T-32 being the first one to be exposed while the IS-3 is tucked into a corner. But one of the 5100s along, both the 5100s are actually repositioning themselves and waiting, since now they see 3 tanks on the field itself, and now one of the T1s has gone down.
And one of the T1s for Refuse to Die has bit the dust, but still we see no movement out of their tier 8s as they are showing just an obscene amount of patience. 1 minute, 13 seconds left. It looks like it's going to be a last-second blitz, and here we go. Gentleman Gaming has made the push. There's the spots going down. They know exactly what they're up against. It's Death Reaper in front. At 5100 is a little bit soft. I don't know why they're going to let him lead the charge, but there it is. The entire firing line of Refuse to Die has been revealed. The cap is on right now. Gentleman Gaming with a threat of cap. They only have to hold that for about 38 more seconds. A lot of shots going down. I don't know that Refuse to Die is getting the best of this exchange. It is very close, but Derek Fakir is going to come out and lead the way. Both the T1s have been killed. So the cap for Gentleman Gaming is going to be mostly shut down. That 1392 is still alive, and he's been chased away. It looks like Refuse to Die may have deflected just well enough. 25 seconds remain, and Gentleman Gaming has got to get some kills if they're going to win this game.
Valkyrie Vios is able to hold down that section in the 1390. Bag of Kittens, along with Fnatic and Screenly, will hold against that position, while the other 5100, Anubis, is turning around to see the 1392, 3741. He's going to have to back up, though. But going into the water.
Don't go that way.
Not paying attention. He's going to have to back up. A hired gun and Valkyrie Vios could land some more shots if they do go to the top, but that's going to be it. The draw is in, and that means Refuse to Die is a series victor.
They're going to win it out 2-1, but with the draw on the final map, it means it is obviously impossible for Gentleman Gaming to do anything about it. Refuse to Die wins by default. So, you know, it's maybe not the most glorious way to take a victory, but it is a victory nonetheless. You can't take anything away from them. They earned it with great play on the previous maps, and Gentleman Gaming was unable to break that strong defensive position. I would say it's risky shot calling to say we're just going to sit back and let them come to us, because you set yourself up for trouble if if there's a focus push on a point that you didn't prepare for. But it worked out okay for Refuse to Die this time.
It definitely worked out okay, and even the nerves of keeping your hand steady on that trigger while you're waiting for anything to pop around that corner. And when they did have those 3 tanks moving in against their flag capture, they did not all fully panic. It was the 2 AMX 5100s that turned around. One of them actually went back to that line when they knew those other heavy tanks were to come around the corner, cleaned up what was left. Valkyrie Vios in the 1390 with the speed was able to keep shots on those tanks to stop the flag capture, and they were then able to lock down that aggression, and were able to play defensively. Very well played.
Yep.
Very much so. I mean, the positioning makes it so difficult, especially with that T-32 being there. It's in a not completely hold down position, but it's in a position where it is a little bit difficult, especially if you're in a T-69, to get those shots on. So that really makes it so the T-69 has to aggress on, but you don't want to be aggressing so far on a narrow hallway where, you know, you're just going to be bursted down. So put them in between a rock and a hard place where they didn't know how to commit against that army. In the end, of course, the draw was inevitable, and Refuse to Die played overall, I think, a much better series than their opponents.
I completely agree with that statement. They do move forward in the qualifier, where we will probably see more of them in coming days. So congratulations to Refuse to Die, and Gentleman Gaming, better luck next time there is another qualifier. We hope to see you there. So That does mean we can begin setting up for our third best of 5 of the day. It's going to be the Black Watch versus Sympasaurus Rex, which is one of the funnest names to say. And
these are two teams I know nothing about coming into this tournament, and I look forward to see what they're going to bring. The Black Watch, Sympasaurus Rex, I only like their names. That's about it. But let's see if one of these teams actually bring 5-1-10s. I don't like them even more.
That's what I'm talking about. We're going to head into a very short break, folks. When we get back, we should be getting this first match set up. Please don't go anywhere. WGLNA Season 2 qualifiers will continue right after this.